Hi, hello everybody. Welcome to today's Industry Insights. I am super pumped. I hope you can tell. I'm joined by Holly Hanna today. Hi, Holly.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I just want to let everybody know Holly is has a super successful blog. It's called The Work at Home Woman. So we're going to talk all things blogging today because it's a real hot topic still. I mean, I feel like it's been a hot topic for years now, right, Holly?
It has.
So, because it has been around a while, can you just kind of give us a bit of insight into how you got into it, how you found it, how you rose up through it?
Sure. So before I started my blog, I worked as a nurse, and
Okay.
unfortunately, it wasn't the dream career that I thought it was going to be. I did floor nursing, and I thought I was going to love it, and it was extremely stressful. I tried out desk nursing, and it just wasn't my cup of tea. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, my husband and I decided that I would quit my nursing job and become a full-time stay-at-home mom. So there were two things kind of floating in the back of my head at this time. One was that I needed to find a new career before my daughter went off to kindergarten. And the second was that my savings started to dwindle being a
Yeah.
new mom. And so I started to look for work at home jobs. And this was back in 2007, and the
Wow.
opportunities weren't as plentiful as they are today. And I had these huge spreadsheets just filled with ideas and companies and websites and all of this information. And, I was trying to figure out what was legit and what wasn't.
Mm.
And through this process of like searching for a work at home job, I just remember wishing that there was a website that had everything I needed in one spot. And that's when it clicked. Like, I could start a website. I could take all of my research and, make this work at home website for women that want to stay at home with their babies. And
Wow.
so I just kind of ran with the idea. It took me a little while to get it off the ground, but
Okay.
from idea to actual conception, it took about 15 months. And
Wow.
I've been doing it for almost 12 years now, and I just absolutely love it. I totally fell into a career that I love and that I'm passionate about. And, I never dread Monday mornings, which is a miracle.
I mean, I think that's literally the dream, not just the job, but the feeling that you can have from the job and to be able to say, like, I love this every day is what we want everybody to be able to get to. And I had no idea that you actually started it because you were trying to get that end result, and instead you created the gap for everybody else, which is like mind blowing. So then let me ask you, if you don't dread Monday mornings, what do your Mondays or typical writing days look like as Holly Hanna, the blogger? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm an early bird, and I wake up about 5:45 or 6 o'clock in the morning. I kind of roll out of bed, make my coffee. I sit down at my computer, and everybody says that you're supposed to do your most important work first thing in the morning. I feel that I'm kind of groggy in the morning, so I like to ease into my work day. So I start off by doing email and administrative tasks and
Okay.
marketing tasks. Then I take a break. I go do yoga.
Hmm.
I shower, and then I eat breakfast. And then I come back and I start writing. And I
I,
write for, however long I feel inspired and motivated,
yeah. Okay.
take a break for lunch, work a few more hours, usually end my workday around 3, and then I'm done for the day.
Wow. I mean, I love the fact that I feel for anybody, if you need some inspiration or need some like juices to flow, yoga and food are two great sources to like kick off that inspiration. And so I'm guessing as well, like if you're just having a day that you're not feeling so inspirational or things just aren't clicking, you just can take the day off. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, I do take the day off if I'm not feeling it. I do allow myself to have those days where maybe I just read a book, or maybe I do yoga and go work out somewhere else. But yeah, occasionally I do have those days where I'm not feeling inspired, and that's the beauty of being your own boss, is you get to call the shots.
I love that. Now, I didn't actually have this question for you originally, but while we're talking, like, I just realized I have this question. You know, I've called your blog successful and I know the amazing things that it has done. In order to generate money for a blog, do you have advertisers on there? Like, how does somebody actually make money from blogging?
Right. So I make money in a few different ways. I have an ad network that I work with, Ad Thrive, and they are wonderful. They help monetize my site. I also sell direct advertising and sponsorships to companies that I feel I can really recommend and get behind.
Okay.
I've also started creating some of my own products to help people with their work at home journeys, different planners and toolkits so that they can track their jobs and really understand the whole process of applying for jobs, understanding what a scam is, how to identify scams, because people, they start looking and they have no idea how to tell what's legit and how and what's not. And so these guides really help people understand the whole process.
Wow. So I love that too, because it's not just one like a revenue stream. You have like multiple different ways in which, and if it works for you, then you do it right. And if it doesn't, then that's not the revenue stream that you choose. So options. I always like options.
Yeah.
So Karen has a question that I think is brilliant. You know, we were saying that blogging has been around for a while, and like you said, you started, what was it? Did you say 2013? Was that right?
2009.
2009. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Whoa. Okay. So does that mean that it's like old school and like something like podcasting is taking over? Is blogging still like big and hip and happening?
Well, it's funny. Even when I started back in 2009, people were saying, oh my gosh, blogging is dead. It's over.
Oh,
And every year that I've been a blogger, somebody comes out saying blogging's dead. It's no longer viable. And that's just not the case. Technology has changed a lot and the landscape overall has changed a lot, but blogging is still very viable. It is a resource that you own. Just the opportunities alone of having a blog are amazing. So no, definitely blogging is not dead. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think that certain technologies now can just add layers to it rather than get rid of it. Like if you can incorporate, we've spoken to recently John Morrow, and he was just talking about how like his whole blog and how they create so much SEO around it to bring more people to it. So I think that technology can aid it rather than get rid of it, and it can really help it.
Yeah, and there are so many different tools out there to help you build your blog, from social media. And yeah, a podcast is a great thing to add, to your blog as well. There are the landscape is ever changing, videos and lives. And so it's been so fun seeing it all and incorporating the different aspects into my blog. But the blog is the mainstay of my business, and it hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah, because I love that idea, and I've actually talked to Rebecca. We've talked to another expert about this. Is like the one thing can spin into others, but it doesn't get rid of that main like foundational central thing. But we're talking about certain things that might make people think that, oh my gosh, I can't be a blogger because I don't know how to set up a website, or I don't know SEO, I don't know these things that they're talking about. How technical do you actually need to be a blogger?
Well, it's funny because I started out my career a long time ago as a nurse. So I knew nothing about blogging at all, nothing about the technology, nothing about the marketing. And so I just learned it as I went. And today it is so much easier to get started than when I started back in 2009. There are hosting programs that make it so easy. All you have to do is follow some simple instructions, click, 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 and your blog is set up. It really, if you can navigate a Word document or a Google document, you can set up a blog. It is so easy. And there are so many free tutorials online. Like, take advantage of all that free content out there. It's, if I can do it, you can do it.
I love that. And I would also think that in 2009, it was even harder because there was less of that, right, than there is now. Like now there's so many resources for but not potential wannabe bloggers, right?
There weren't as many resources back then. There weren't as many courses. I don't remember there being a bunch of YouTube videos on tutorials for this stuff. So, a lot of it for me was trial and error, but there's so much out there. So just take advantage of it and use it.
Yeah. So Brenda has a really great question. Do you recommend having both a blog and a newsletter? And if you do have that recommendation, how do you utilize the two of them together?
Absolutely. So email marketing should be your number one marketing tool,
Okay.
because like social media is great and it's a lot of fun, but you don't own your social media platform. Facebook or Instagram can take away your platform. They can change their algorithms anytime. With email marketing, you own your list and you can use it at any time to communicate with your audience. So yes, you should definitely have both. You want to get your readers that come to your blog to sign up on your newsletter so that you can continue to communicate with them. Because what happens is so many times, like, people find you through a search engine or a social media post, they stop by your site once, they get the information they're looking for, and then they leave. They don't remember your blog name, they don't remember anything. But if they sign up for your email newsletter, they're in your little bucket, and then you can communicate with them consistently and they'll remember you.
Yeah, because I can't tell you how many times I've been to a site and then tried to remember it later, or tried to remember the keywords that I used later and never can. So I love that tip. And they go hand in hand, don't they? Like, they're really symbiotic, newsletters or even emails and blogs, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So a question for you, you mentioned that it took 15 months for your blog to take off. Is that how long it took you to start making what you would call an impressive income when it comes to your blog? That is a question from Luck. I think that's how you pronounce the name.
So it actually took me 15 months the way I started my blog was a little bit backwards. Like, I started researching and I started writing content. So when I actually launched my blog, I had like 20 articles already in place.
Okay.
So I don't recommend starting that way. I recommend just set it up, write your first article and go with it. For some reason, I thought I had to have 20 articles to get started. You don't. So it took me 15 months from, idea to launch. It took me about 3 months to start making money.
Okay.
And my very first advertiser, I had done an interview with this woman, and she had placed a link to the interview on her site. One of her readers came over to my site via the interview and decided to buy some advertising for her business. So it took me 3 months to get my first sale. And then after that, it kind of took off.
Wow. I mean, I don't think that's very long at all. That's very promising. Okay. Let's see. Do you have any, so Stephanie's having problems with WordPress. What do you use? Do you use WordPress, or do you maybe have something else that you use that you found easier?
No, I use WordPress. I've learned a lot over, the 12 years that I've been blogging. But the one thing that I invested in from the very front was a good web programmer, because usually when I'm trying to tweak something or I go back in the code and mess up a little something, I will take out parts of my website and I'm like, oh no. So definitely get a good web programmer to help you with those technical issues that you're just scratching your head. So.
Yeah. And then a question from Michelle. We are getting so many questions. So this really is, who said blogging is dead? Come on. Okay. So when it comes to your newsletter that you mentioned, how often do you put that out there?
I put my newsletter out twice a week. And that's because I'm sending out new job leads twice a week, so readers can find work at home opportunities, and they tend to fill very quickly. I could probably send out more frequently, but twice a week seems to be a sweet spot for me.
Okay, cool. Then we had a question. So how do most people find your blog? Is it through Google searching?
So the majority of my traffic comes from Google. So SEO is one of those things that I really geek out on and I enjoy doing. And so from the very beginning, I've learned as much as I can about SEO. And so I get the majority of my organic traffic from Google. The second place that I get a lot of traffic from is Pinterest. And it's also, it's a visual search engine. And so it makes sense that I would get a lot of traffic from there as well.
I think that's the one that, unless you're in the fold, and so many people don't realize how many people are monetizing Pinterest these days and how valuable it's really become. There's a whole nother webinar just on that, that how that world has opened up so much.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's and it's funny because most people think Pinterest is a social media platform, and it's really not. It's just a visual search engine. And so once you learn about SEO, you can use that to your advantage on Pinterest and Google. So it's been great.
Perfect. Now, I know that you are actually a part of AWAI's blogging program, so this works out perfectly. Kelly is asking for programs or sites that are available to get started. I feel like you have had a chance to have a look at AWAI's blogging program. Is that correct?
I've looked at it just briefly.
Okay. So I do want to let you know, Kelly, I'll put a little ticker at the bottom here. There is a site there that'll help you with that. We basically have a program that Holly is one segment of that. We've interviewed a ton of bloggers and just like how to get started, how to get into this, all about blogging. And if you are a Premier member or if you are a part of COS, you get it for free. So make sure that you are contacting us if that's something that you're interested in. And if you're not Premier or COS and you want to learn more about it, go ahead and click. Well, the link will come up below. It's awai.com/how-to-blog. It's on sale until I think today is like the last day. So this is the perfect time for anybody that's interested in this. Okay, so Nora has a longer question. Okay, so she's made it out of poverty and kind of wants to blog about her, how she got out of that. Does that seem like too much of a downer topic to attract advertisers, or do you think that that's something that is viable?
No, that's a great topic. I know many successful bloggers who have chronicled their journey of paying off debt or becoming, from homeless to or a six-figure earner. So anything that you can do to personalize your story and connect with other people who are maybe in the same boat is great. I don't think it's a depressing topic. I think it's inspiring.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say inspirational is also the same thing that came to my mind. Okay. And I know you mentioned more than one, but maybe Matt didn't catch it. Are there other ways to monetize your blog other than selling ads? So you had 3, correct?
Yeah, so I work with an ad network. I sell direct advertising and sponsorships, and I also use affiliate marketing, which I didn't mention before. And then I also sell my own products. But, as a blogger, you can sell your own products, you can sell services. The ways in which you monetize are really endless. It just depends on where your passions lie and how you want to proceed.
I guess as well, like what organically makes sense for the topic of which you're covering, right? Like, it all falls in line with that, I would imagine.
Yeah.
like if you was like, I know Nick Aswan has his money has a website on coffee, and so it makes sense if he had to sell coffee grinders. If you sold coffee grinders, like that wouldn't make sense for your business model and what you're talking about.
No, but like he can make money through Amazon affiliate program, selling coffee grinders, and I can make money through Amazon affiliate selling, career related books or business related books. So yeah, it just, whatever makes sense for your niche.
Okay. Wow, we have a lot of questions here. Okay. Somebody's asking for your website so that they can sign up. We have more than one. Sign up for your email list. Can you give us? Is it just At Home Mom? Is that correct?
The Work at Home Woman. If on the homepage there is a sign up button for our newsletter. I believe it's right under Find a Job You Love.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay. How do you drive traffic through Pinterest or from Pinterest?
So with Pinterest, like I was saying, it's a visual search engine. And what I will do is I will create a pin with a text overlay. I will write a SEO friendly description, and then you get to include a link. And I schedule those on Pinterest, and then people click on them and come to my website. The neat thing about Pinterest is they make it really easy to do search engine keyword research. So you just type in the search term, and then a bunch of terms will pop on down. And so you can see what exactly people are searching for, and you can incorporate those in your descriptions.
Wow. Okay. So for the job listings that you mentioned, do you curate that list, or how do you gather your job listings?
Yeah, so I have an assistant that helps me curate those. We look on LinkedIn, Indeed. I signed up for a lot of different newsletters, and when companies have openings, I will post them. So yeah, we find them online, vet them, and then include them in our newsletter and on our site.
Wow. Okay, so you mentioned social media before. Where does that fit into your marketing strategy? How big is social media, and where do you put it into your workflow?
So I'm on all the major platforms. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest. And what I've learned over the years is, like, while it's great to be on all those platforms, Facebook and Pinterest are my two biggest drivers of traffic and conversions. And so I tend to focus most of my time on them. I don't really spend a lot of time on Twitter or Instagram. So I think, it really depends on what your niche is. Like, if you're a fashion blogger, Instagram's probably going to be an excellent place for you to be. Or if you're a food blogger, anything like where you have these like great pictures, you just got to look at the time spent and the return on your investment.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, and we added a clickable link for this. That helps. Okay, Pinterest posts tend to stay up a bit longer than social media platforms, so be a great way to find clients. That's what I've learned. Aha. Okay, so how did you personally build your email list? Was it traffic to your blog, or how did you build that?
So I originally, I knew that I needed an email list, but it wasn't my main focus. When I first started, social media was all the rage. And so I focused so much time building up my social media platforms. And then through some algorithm changes and, stuff that happened with social media, I just had to learn that, I don't have control over social media. So I started focusing more on my list. While I already had email opt-in forms on my website, I started creating lead magnets or freebies to attract people to my list. And now I really I make sure I have a call to action on all of my blog posts that people sign up. So just, good kind of persuasive techniques on the website so that people sign up for those mailings.
Wow. Okay, so I know that your topic of your site came kind of organically. If somebody's struggling with what to write about, do you have any recommendations on what they should start a blog on?
Yeah, it's funny. I get this question all the time. And, I really think you need to do a deep dive into your skills, your passions, your hobbies, what you're passionate about. Actually physically create a list of all these different things and then break it down. Like, with each topic that you have, write down some subtopics and some subcategories, and then break it down even further. For each category and subcategory that you have, write a list of articles. If you're having trouble coming up with article ideas for those categories or subcategories, it might not be the right niche for you, because you want a topic that you can talk on forever. You want something that you can talk about nonstop and something that you're passionate about and that you geek out about. And so I find that a lot of people really need to do the exercise physically on a piece of paper to figure out where their true passions lie.
Yeah, I love that, because it's so obvious in the sense of if you can't write articles on it and you can't come up with ideas, and you can't blog on it. So what can you write articles on, and what does light a passion in you? Because that's how you could start a blog on it. Just like when you say that, I'm like, ping. Okay, I think you market this one a lot too. What advice do you have on competition amongst topics? So if something seems like a lot of people are writing on it, should we stray away from that, or should we try and compete with it?
You're the only person that has your unique personality, experiences, skills. And that's what you want to capitalize on, is your uniqueness. And so it doesn't matter if there are 50 million other fashion blogs out there. You have your own sense of style. You have your own way of putting outfits together. And the world needs to see that. Everybody has a special gift that they can offer to the world. And so no, I don't worry about competition. I think it just makes everybody stronger, and there's a place for everybody in this world.
Yep. And I think at the end of the day, I know that we've had a lot of experts that they become successful because they're not trying to do something for everybody, right? Like they know themselves, they know what they like and who they want to talk to, and they just talk to those people, and it becomes so authentic that it attracts like a larger audience. So I don't think you need to be scared of your own voice, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think a lot of people start out blogging and they kind of try to emulate other people, but I find that they're more successful when they stick to their authentic voice and let, their personality shine through. That's what people connect with.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so this is a great question. When it comes to if somebody has like 3 or 4 passions, should a singular blog stick to one topic, or should it be broad, or how specific should they go when it comes to the topic of their blog?
I like to have a niched blog. I think it's easier to monetize and to deal with search engine traffic. But there are a ton of lifestyle bloggers out there that cover fashion and travel and food, and they're very successful. I think it's easier if you niche down a little bit. But there are successful bloggers in all sorts of niches, very wide and very narrow, that are very successful. It really depends on what you want to do.
And again, you're not married to one thing, right? Like if something doesn't work, you now know how to create a blog, to shift over and do a different one or a different topic doesn't seem like it would be as much of a learning curve or as much work too.
No, you can always switch. You can switch domain names. You can start a new blog. You can, you totally flip the script and, change topics. It's all doable. I've seen it happen.
Do whatever you want. Okay. Do you recommend getting into freelance blogging on top of personal blogging, or is blogging for yourself good enough to make a good income, in your opinion?
For me, just running my blog is a full-time job. If I had to be a service provider and write freelance articles for other people, I would be stressed out. So, it just depends. I know some very successful bloggers who freelance writing is their main bread and butter. It's just something you decide when you're monetizing your site. What revenue streams do you want to use? Whether it's a service or product or advertising. Not everybody likes advertising.
Yeah. What I also like about blogging is, I know that you were in a position where you were at home when you started it out, but it does seem like it's a great transitional piece for somebody that's wanting to write but doesn't want and not ready or wanting to leave their full-time job, right? Like they can do this like after hours and slowly make that transition versus like cut it off here and then start over here.
Yeah, blogging is a great way to moonlight or get started as a side hustle and then grow it, on the side. And then, eventually you can turn it into a full-time income. So yeah, it's a great side earner.
Yeah, a cider. I've never heard that. I like that. Okay, let me see. Do you have a sweet spot for the word count on your blog these days?
No, I don't recommend a certain word count. I say write as much as you need to that covers the topic in depth. If you're writing a blog post on making applesauce and you only have 700 words because you've covered every single angle of making applesauce, then go with that. A lot of my blog posts are around 2,000 words, but that's just because that's how many words they need. So I don't recommend like a typical word count,
But let me ask you about frequency. Like, do you have to blog every day? Do you have to post every day? How often, or do you have a rhythm of how often you post?
No, you don't need to blog every day. You're going to wear yourself out if you do that.
Okay. No yoga or food is going to help that one.
I only publish new blog posts twice a week, and I actually have a team of writers. So I have 5 writers that are helping me create content, and then I also create content. But to really write in-depth topics, it takes me longer to write a blog post. And so that's why I've hired out help. And I also like having different voices on the website, because not everybody makes money in the same way and has the same viewpoint. And so it's nice and refreshing to have those different viewpoints. But, if you're just starting out and you only have time to publish 1 new blog post a week, that's fine. Go with it. I think the thing that's most important is you just come up with a consistent schedule.
Yeah. Okay, so we found this a lot with members when it comes to naming their business. They get very hung up on the actual name and that it will somewhat determine success. Have you found that the name of a blog helps determine success of the blog?
There are all these rules for picking a blogging domain name. And I can say like, oh, don't do this and don't do that. But then like, I'll see 5 people who are super successful bloggers that have ignored all those rules. If somebody else has your blog name, just pick a different one. You want to make sure that you're not infringing on somebody's copyright or trademark. So make sure that you're searching those things, and you're doing stuff right. But, there's so many different name combinations and combos, and, I don't think it matters all that much.
And I think the way Google works and functions nowadays, if you are producing good content, you will outdo somebody with a name that you potentially wanted. And there is a site, and I've forgotten the name now. I don't know if Melissa, if you can find it, but there is a site where you can plug in like a web link, and it will tell you whether that name is a domain name, and it tells you whether the name is taken or not. So, Robin, it should be pretty easy to find. Okay. Gosh, I don't think I've ever seen so many questions in one live, Holly. This is amazing. Okay. What is your thoughts about blog flipping? Do you find it to be a lucrative idea?
I have not personally flipped a blog, but I have some friends that have flipped blogs. I have a friend who's actually flipped probably 5 different blogs. And it's funny, she gets into these different interests. She creates a blog, does it for a couple years, and then she sells it. And so it's been very lucrative for her. And, if that's what you like and if that's what you enjoy doing, go for it. I think it can be a very viable business option.
That's awesome. Okay, so if somebody is just starting out and they're not really familiar and they have a blog going, do you have a range on what you recommend they charge for ads on their site?
When I first started out, I contacted some people that were in similar niches, and I just asked them if they'd be willing to share how much they were charging for ad space. I was really lucky that I had some great mentors and people that were really nurturing and offered to help me. And so I, based on my niche and what they were charging and audience size and stuff like that, that's how I determined my pricing. I don't think that you can just say like, oh, every ad is $25 or, you need to do some research and figure out what the going rate is in your niche.
Yeah. I was going to say it also again, now we're many years later, I'm sure that it's much easier now to find out this information because we live in like an information rife world. A little bit of research, I'm sure, will get you your answers of your spots.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cynthia subscribes to your newsletter and says it's gold. And an unrelated question, if you for some reason wanted to change your domain name, is that something you would have your web programmer do?
Absolutely, because that's going to be changing all of my links and permit structure. And so, yes, that is something I would definitely hire a web programmer to do because there's a lot of technical components to make sure that everything directs to the right spot.
Not something we want to miss. And again, I think that so often people are hesitant to invest in themselves. And this is one spot where I think that helping somebody that can make your life easier is a good investment in yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I could spend hours trying to figure out a tech problem, but, it's a lot cheaper for me to pay somebody to do it quickly and efficiently than for me to like research it for hours. So yeah, use your time wisely.
Amen. Okay. So Jennifer has a question that's really good. Does your blog name and your domain name need to be one and the same?
I find that it's helpful if they're the same. But again, I've seen bloggers who have one domain name and then their blog name is different. So, I think it's helpful to have both the same so that when they're typing in your URL that it's the name of the blog, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, and we have people that are helping with my problem earlier. They were mentioning GoDaddy and SouthGround and whois.com if you're wanting to know whether a domain name is taken. What was the answer to sticking to one topic versus having several topics? So the answer to that one was it's easier to have one topic when it comes to being Google findable for layman's terms. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's easier if you niche down, but again, you don't have to. I just think it makes it easier to stick in one realm.
Yeah, and in AWAI world, the way that we often refer to this to talk about this is like, if you're it's easier to talk to one person and use their verbiage than it is to talk to like multiple people and try and find ways to speak to all of them. So if you think about who you're talking to, it should make it easier to.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of it, is knowing your target audience and really figuring out who they are and what they're looking for. And so when you can do that, you can branch out or narrow it down.
Okay, apparently this is not the first time everybody has recently heard about Pinterest to drive traffic. That is awesome. If you have a blog but you want to niche down, is it better to start a new blog or change the one you have? I guess it also depends on how much traffic and everything is going towards your site, right?
Yeah, it depends what you're already ranking for, what your domain is. It's kind of a complicated question without knowing all of the details. Niche down, or I think I would probably just niche down.
Yeah, and it seems also easier than maybe starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay, can you suggest ways to streamline efforts, especially with a blog that requires research and interviews? Okay. I mean, so did you find starting a blog was an enormous amount of work? I know you said you had 20 articles to start out with. If you had not started at that point, do you find it an enormous amount of work?
It is a lot of work. There's just so many components that go into it. And, the experts will tell you, oh, you have to be on Pinterest and Instagram, and you have to be on TikTok. Aren't you on TikTok? And aren't you doing stories and all of this stuff? And if you listen to all the experts and you do all the things, you're going to drive yourself crazy. What you need to do is you need to just narrow it down, pick 2 to 3 key marketing places that you're going to be, and focus on those and focus on writing your content. It's just something that you'll get better with time. It is a learning process. Running a blog, there are so many different components that go into it. I highly suggest just simple time blocking. That is a great time management tool. Write out what you're going to do. Make sure you have a block for everything, and then drop the rest off.
Yeah. And you don't need it to be perfect, right? To start, starting is better than perfection, no?
Yeah, progress over perfection, definitely.
There we go. That's the line of the day. Okay, so do you use Google Analytics, or how do you check the traffic, how much traffic is going to your site?
I use Google Analytics.
There we go. And do you do that yourself? Or is that something that you outsource? I'll ask as well.
I believe I had my web programmer set up Google Analytics for me because I was so confused at the time. But now I know it inside and out, and I set up sites on it, and it's very easy to use. But yes, Google is the industry standard, and that's what you want to be using, especially when you're talking with sponsors or advertising. So definitely set up Google Analytics.
Okay, and we've been talking a lot about this is for blogging for yourself more than we have like blogging for companies. That's another big part of the blogging world. Do you have a recommendation about how much you would charge if somebody's interested in blogging for companies?
I think a new blogger could easily make $75 to $100 for a blog post. But that can vary based on the niche, how long the post is, what your expertise is, if you have experience. So, research the industry and what, other people are charging in that area. But I would say, as a just general rule of thumb, $75 to $100 as a new beginner.
And it also seems like a good industry we love retainers, for a retainer, right? Because hardly anybody just wants one blog.
Right. Yeah, no. Retainer deal would be great.
Here we go. Okay. For yourself, does YouTube fit into your marketing, or is that even something that is generally a part of blogging's marketing strategy, a blogger's marketing strategy?
I do have a YouTube channel, but I only have like 5 or 6 videos on there. It was something, that the gurus were saying, you have to be on YouTube, you have to be on YouTube. And I think it's a great tool if you love being on video and you love creating videos. I don't like to consume videos. I like written content. and I enjoy writing. And so I don't do videos, but it's a great avenue for people that love that medium.
I think it all goes back to what you said about that time blocking that makes you do the thing that is important for you and the focusing for you, and do those well, rather than worry about being in 10 places all at
Exactly.
once.
And figure out, like, when you're determining your target audience, where are they hanging out?
Yes.
Figure that out. You don't need to be on every single social media platform. You will drive yourself insane if you try to be.
Amen. Amen. Okay. So I think from a lot of the questions here that we can gauge that a lot of people are starting, like not even started out yet, starting out. So do you have any like last words for somebody that wants to go on this journey, wants to take the first step of how they should start out to move towards where you are right now?
I think the most important thing you can do is find a tribe of like-minded people. There are so many components to blogging, and there are going to be times that you're frustrated and that you need to ask questions and that you need help, you need referrals or recommendations. And so if you find a like-minded group of bloggers, that is invaluable. It'll be so helpful on your journey, because there will be things that you want to celebrate that the normal people in your life just don't understand. And, questions are going to pop up, and you're going to need somewhere to go for those. So find a blogging tribe. I'm sure you guys have like a great blogging group already established.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, we launched this blogging program recently, and the response was like through the roof. I think it's something that everybody's been hungry and thirsty for so long. And just the general community at AWAI is so helpful that I know if somebody had to pop half these questions into our groups, like everybody hops on and answers. So I think whenever you can, leverage the power of community. So I love that response. Holly, that has been like the fastest 40 minutes ever. Those questions are coming so hot. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for like giving so much and like just providing so many expertise and so much help. I hope everybody checks out your blog and sees just exactly what you're doing and how wonderfully you're doing it. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and bye everybody. I'll see you soon.